Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Double on Radio Gamescast. It's episode number 39, our last episode of 2020. As always, I'm your host, Ryan, and today I'm joined by my lovely cohort of co-hosts, Tess.
Welcome back. Welcome back. The funny one is back.
Good.
What a way to come back.
Yep.
I expect nothing less.
Brett.
Yeah, you really don't.
Hello.
Wyatt.
Hello.
And Alex.
Hi.
Great,
I wasn't
alright.
last this time. Oh
Well,
my
I was
God.
going in reverse, center order in the Discord. So I have methods. I follow methods. I have rules. Alright.
Alright.
So this episode, we're going to be doing our big 2020 review of video games. And we're going to have some fun with it. We're going to play some games, bring back the spirit of the old weeklies. Just hear the sighs.
Weeklies.
If you can feel nostalgia for something like that, well, here we are.
Stockholm Syndrome.
2020 is the year of Stockholm Syndrome. So I think we'll be fun. All right, we're going to start with our award. And what this award is, as it's our last episode of 2020, it's an award that each of you gets to create. So I want all four of you to give me your favorite award. And you don't have to think of nominees for this, but just your favorite award for video games. What's a video game award you want to see at the next Game Awards?
We want to see.
Greatest remake of a remake. That's a good one.
We're getting there where that's a viable category.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. At this point, I think Skyrim might be eligible for that.
It wins every single year because it always has a new edition out.
Yep.
I think it would be interesting to see because we have a lot of category awards, but not a lot of ones that can kind of compete, in different weight ranges, so to speak.
Yeah.
So it would be interesting to see something something kind of vague, like a most satisfying mechanic award or something like that, or even most satisfying thing in a game. I don't know, like getting a headshot in Battlefield 1 would be a good example. Where it's just,
Juiciest
the
game feel
cha-
award. I like it.
Juiciest game feel award.
I feel like Nintendo would win every single year because
No,
they
I
just
think
make
Doom would be
the
up there for that.
nicest.
Nintendo
right.
didn't make
Doom,
Battlefield 1.
Sniper Elite. Sniper Elite.
Sniper Elite.
Yeah.
That's fair. That's
Mortal Kombat. There's lots of games that got some juice.
One thing that will never be in the Game Awards ever, but something I'd like to see is greatest spiritual successor to another
Ooh,
game. So
that'd be fun.
Yeah, and I use this example a lot, but if you have BioShock wins the best spiritual successor award because it's a spiritual successor to System Shock.
Interesting.
Like that. Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be good. All right, Tess, you got something? The
Worst
award
sequels.
burning a hole in your soul.
Worst sequels. I know that's an awful award to give you.
I mean, that's still fine.
Sequel.
2020 is the year of the gas leak year, as it were. So
I just want to give it to Amnesia.
Wow.
Oh.
It just can't get a good sequel.
Oh.
Wow.
Amnesia Machine for Pigs really deserves nothing but that.
Nothing
All
to
right.
hate.
No, I haven't even finished the other Amnesia.
You don't even
Says
remember
a
what
lot
it's
about
called.
it.
Oh,
No, I really don't. Hold on, let me go to Steam.
I mean, I don't either, but that's because I'm not a huge amnesia person.
Rebirth. I couldn't think of that word for some reason.
It's not the most
Amnesia
catchy
Born
title.
Again.
I mean, I'm gonna give it to them for giving a female main character because that's pretty cool. But
It's about all the points it's getting.
And one that isn't white. Which
I
is,
do like the way the monsters. I'll give it that. I do like the way the monsters look.
All right, Alex. Last but certainly not least.
Oh. Let's see. Highest fidelity graphics without crashing.
Ooh.
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 That's a
Very
targeted
passive-aggressive
award there.
award.
I say
Very
this,
passive aggressive.
I say this especially now that Unreal Engine 5 has come out and they were touting, and I know consoles can't handle it at this point still, but the God, what they were touting in their technical demo is there was not a single low poly asset in there. You could see the whole environment was just a sea of dense triangles.
Dude, mesh
And
particles. We're finally getting to the point where we can use mesh particles.
yeah,
Oof.
I'd like to see a fun competitive nature come out of highest fidelity graphics without crashing.
I just like
I
the
would
idea
like
that
even-
like crashes a single time, instantly
That's it.
disqualified for
That's it,
anyone.
yeah.
Crashes on any console for any of the like 20 billion players.
Just the fact that the Stadia exists means that nothing will win in that category.
Well, apparently
Yeah.
Cyberpunk plays best on Stadia.
I hate that. I hate that fact.
I've heard that as well. That's
It's disturbing, but it's true.
We really are in a dystopia.
for once, Google, you can pat yourself on the back. Well done. I guess.
Yeah.
I guess.
Maybe, sure. We'll give him that. All right. So,
That's my pick.
we have some minor news to cover, which we're gonna do in the tail end of this episode, as opposed to during the normal part of the episode, because this is our final episode of 2020. We're doing a big look at all the stuff that happened this year, and then giving some hot takes based on those different events. But first, I want to play a little bit of a guessing game with you guys and see if you can tell me how much revenue different markets and video games overall have in 2020. So, who here has an estimate, or has their best guess for what the highest, or not the highest, but the total market value of video games in 2020 was?
At least one.
At least one, yeah.
I
mean,
take
it's gotta
that
be
and I
like
lower
5
you
or something.
0.5%.
Oh god.
You don't want to
I
leave
know.
anyone out.
I'll give you a hint. It's in the billions.
See, I was right.
You were close enough. You were
I
close
guess
enough.
technically, yeah, you were right.
And it is in US dollars. So that's the unit we're working with here, is how many US dollars was the video game industry worth in 2020.
Oh.
I feel like it's gonna be pretty high since no one
Yeah.
went out.
Probably
No
the,
one
the
did
most it
anything.
has been. in a
Everyone
while.
had an excuse to stay inside and play video games.
I
Yeah,
was
I
gonna-
can
this is-
also confirm this is the biggest year for games, I think, ever.
Not
wanna say-
surprising in the slightest.
I don't have that exact data out right now, but I have heard from pretty much everyone that this is, at least for like home console games, this has been basically the biggest year ever.
I think we're gonna be, surpassing Alibaba Singles Day numbers here.
All right,
Oh god. 7.5 billion.
7.5 billion. All right, Brett, you got something for me?
I'm gonna straight up double that. I'm gonna go.
Whoa.
I'm gonna go 14 billion.
All right, 14 billion.
I'm gonna not quite double it. I'm gonna say 17 billion.
17 billion. All right, Tess, you got something?
I'm gonna say 20 billion. Go
20
big or
billion.
go home.
All right, you are all very wrong.
Oh.
That is not even 20 billion isn't even close to the revenue of just PC games.
Oh,
Jesus
God.
Christ!
Oh,
So
God.
overall in 2020, the video games industry was worth 174.9 billion dollars.
Oh my
Oh my
god!
That is up
Wow.
19% from last year.
So much for go big or go home. I'll just
Really?
shut up.
Ah.
Now,
Go big.
the mobile market is 86.3 billion of that. And if you include that to be all smartphone games, that is 74.9 billion. Or not just smartphone
Gotta
games, it's
play.
74.9.
Good
Then
Ah,
tablets, the other
Fortnite.
11.
Good
Uh,
lord.
PC
Microtransactions.
PC worth 37 billion. Console 51 billion. PC browser games 3.2 billion.
Yes.
What? I
Gotta
say
give it
as
to
I'm
Wizard
playing a
101,
browser game.
everyone.
That's your that's like your Facebook games. There's a lot. Gaming was very high value this year, and mobile is by far the most dominant market sector for
Yeah, again,
video games.
surprising,
Like,
surprising no one because
Mobile
Yeah,
games
yeah.
are fun.
yeah,
I don't get enjoyment out of mobile games.
I
have
don't,
those-
but there are more young people that come into this planet every day.
So now
Gotta
I'm
have
Well,
those
but
Facebook-
I'll also say that like even like let's put pandemic aside for a second, it was still a big year. I mean, we got the
Oh,
new
yeah.
launch of like next gen
Yeah.
systems. Cyberpunk finally came out.
Actually, I
You know,
don't. I
like-
can't confirm if I have any next gen console stats because I don't think they've had a financial quarter yet. I do think we have stats for like the base sales, but their actual like numbers for that is gonna come later once a financial quarter has passed since they are out.
Mhm.
So this is probably not fully accurately reflecting next gen console sales, especially considering
My-
the absolute dumpster fire that has been the launches.
Mm,
My
I haven't heard
my
anything
my
about
point
Xbox.
stands though. I think it would have been a good year regardless of.
Oh, absolutely. And what I'm saying is I'm not even sure if this is technically that accurate as to the upper end of the
Right,
numbers.
right.
It could be even more.
the
All right.
numbers, Mason. What do they mean?
So the next question I have for you guys is a percentage question. It's what percentage is boxed versus digital sales overall?
I was gonna say I've seen the graphic. For
And you know what? I'm gonna
Cyberpunk.
not include PC sales for this because those are almost entirely digital.
Yeah.
So this is just for a console market, and of course not including mobile. So console market, digital versus box sales. What do you think the breakdown is?
I think it's I'm gonna go 60-30 digital over physical.
Well,
All right.
are we talking downloads as well with things like Game Pass or
That counts as digital,
Yeah,
doesn't
that's
it?
digital.
okay?
That sounds about right to me. That's about what I was gonna say because that's kind of
Yeah,
like
it's
my
70-30 split.
breakdown. Because like I usually try and get physical games at least for console, right? And now it's like, no, I'm good. I'll just get everything digital.
Yeah.
I think 70-30.
All right, Tess, weighing in 70-30 as well, or are you going with a different breakdown?
I'm gonna say 60-40.
60-40. All right. So you guys are all pretty close. It's a 28% and 72%
Ooh.
boxed versus digital. So very close. I think
You
box
gotta go
sales are
big or
at least a
go home.
little bit higher
Test.
generally.
Fight me.
Look, you guys, the most anyone was off was by 8%, so that's still pretty close.
Oh yeah.
All right. So we've got some now moving into some stats for game sales. So what games were the most bought and sold? Bought and sold. Just bought basically. So by physical boxed units, what games I want the top 3 physical boxed units games that sold in the UK this year.
In the UK.
I don't think the UK actually makes much of a difference, but that's the
No.
data for boxed sales. I think we only have UK data. So.
Hmm.
Oh, okay.
I think it's safe to say that Cyberpunk is going to be there no matter boxed or digital, just because of how many
Well,
they sold.
okay, but are we also saying just how many they sold total, or are we also taking into account how much of that was refunded?
That I don't know. My assumption for this is the big thing. I think say Cyberpunk is not on the list.
Ooh.
So
also hasn't been out for.
I think that's probably a data thing. If it probably wasn't out by the time, but I also think that is definitely because those sales numbers that like very recently have came out.
Mhm.
And box sales, I would bet, are probably not that affected because it's looking at going against games that have been out for the entire year. So the amount of time they've had to do box sales is much higher. So I don't actually think it would place on this list yet for a lot of these games. Yeah. All right. So what do people think number 1 is?
I want to say.
I want to say Last of Us 2.
I was gonna say. I want to say The Last of Us 2.
Yeah.
Okay.
At least somewhere on there.
It has to be on there. If it's not on there, I'm hanging up.
If not one, then somewhere on it. Yeah.
Yeah, because
I wanna
we
say
did
Doom
talk about that.
Eternal
Last of
2.
Us was the biggest like single launch on the PS4 for a while.
What about Doom Eternal came out this year, right?
Yep.
I wouldn't be
I wanna-
surprised if that was.
I want to say Doom Eternal 2.
Mm-hmm. Same.
All right. Any last minute throw-ins from Brett or Alex?
Final Fantasy VII Remake.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Maybe Animal Crossing too.
Oh
Possibly.
yeah.
Yeah.
Animal
Yeah.
Crossing.
I think
I'm
that's
really
my
blanking.
number. That's my third one.
Yeah.
Alright.
Yeah. I'm gonna agree with Wyatt on that one.
So, you're all wrong. The top selling game by units and box sales in the UK is FIFA 21.
Oh,
Well, it's that it doesn't matter that it's the UK then.
I
And
thought we were
then
just excluding that one. You know,
what?
without even.
Skip number 1 and go to number 2.
number 2 is Animal Crossing.
There you go.
Okay.
And number 3, this is the wild one. This is Mario Kart 8 Deluxe.
Yes.
Oh.
What?
Oh.
Pog.
Mario Kart 8
All
Deluxe
right.
is still king of box sales. And for people that don't know, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe has consistently been in like the top 3 selling games every year since it came out.
What?
Every single year. It's ridiculous.
How?
This game does insanely well, especially around
Is there a
holidays.
top 5?
Is there a what?
Top 5? Like, where is the last
Now,
of Us in this?
The Last of Us is number 7. So it is on the list, it's
Oh,
just
okay.
much further down.
what surprises me?
What about
Minecraft is number 4.
Jeez. Okay. What surprises me is like if it was a new Mario Kart game that came out specifically for the Switch, I would kind of understand that. But no, it's a port of a Wii U game that's been out since like what 2015,
Yeah.
2014.
It's
I'm not
really
saying,
good.
No, I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying like anyone that
It's also got super broad appeal. Like people getting
Like-
Switches if they're kids.
I just find it kind of it's surprising. I'm not saying it's bad at all. It's just more like
And yeah, so some interesting other stuff from this. So by revenue, the list looks a little bit different. FIFA and Animal Crossing are still the top 2. But Black Ops Cold War immediately swings up to the top.
Okay.
I was actually
Probably
that
with
was
that
one
price
thing
tag.
I was thinking about. Yeah.
Mario Kart is then number 4, so it's still by revenue selling a ton because that game is on sale pretty often. But then we have Valhalla, and then Last of Us, then Call of Duty, Modern Warfare.
I forgot about Valhalla.
Then we have Ring Fit Adventure,
Okay.
FIFA
Okay,
20.
UK.
So FIFA is on revenue sales twice and unit sales actually. It's on both lists twice. So
Alright,
FIFA
UK, you got some
21 and
problems.
FIFA 20. And then the final 2 by box units is Grand Theft Auto 5, and then by revenue is Marvel Spider-Man, Miles Morales.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Damn.
it's been a big year.
Didn't make it.
Now, that was just box sales. So what I'm curious is, what do you guys think the best-selling top 3 games in the US were? You now know the box sale data, but how about just overall best-selling games in the US?
And this has potential to be different than the UK stats, I would imagine.
It is different. Yeah.
I don't think
Okay.
FIFA will be in there.
I don't think FIFA will be there. I'm ready to be very
I think
sorely
Last of Us
surprised.
2 is going to be higher.
Yes, me too.
Yeah.
I
I'm
think
sticking with that.
I think Ghost of Tsushima will be on the list.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'd
Yeah.
agree
It
with that.
has more
I'd
more
agree.
capability to
Yeah.
be there in America than the UK.
Think
And a
so.
large part of it is also to remember that people probably started buying way less boxed games after pandemic happened.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
many of those games that were selling box sales high were available towards the
I
start.
just said The Last of Us because I have the boxed
Yeah.
because I pre-ordered it.
Fancy.
So is anyone changing their top
I know
3
I have
here?
a steelbook case.
No, I think I'm more confident in my top 3
Yeah.
now
Yeah.
for the US.
Okay.
High
All right.
five, Wyatt.
Last of Us.
High five.
Okay,
How
so
would you-
number 1, Black Ops Cold War. Call of
Oh,
Duty almost always
completely
takes the
forgot
number
about
1
that.
slot.
That makes sense.
But guess what? Number 2, Call of Duty Modern Warfare.
Oh.
What?
Okay.
Okay.
Then number 3 is Animal Crossing. 4, Madden. So people getting their football
Oh,
fix.
it's the American version of FIFA.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
American equivalent. Then we have Last of Us Part 2. So it is a spot higher on this list. Then we have Ghost of Tsushima,
Lower than I was
Yeah.
expecting. That's interesting.
Assassin's Creed Valhalla. Well, it's also Last of Us Part 2 is only on one platform.
That's
True.
true.
That's
Yeah,
true.
and this is sales across every platform, which is like, it makes
That's
sense by
still pretty
Cold War.
good for. It's still pretty good for number 5 for just being on
Yeah.
one.
And for people wondering,
yeah.
these are from MPD stats, so they are generally highly accurate. Assassin's Creed Valhalla number 7, and then Final Fantasy VII Remake, bringing it in number 8. So Brett, you were right about remake, at least in the US. Then we have Marvel's Avengers.
Oh, I'm so sorry
Oh,
for all
what?
those people.
I think
What?
I have a
no.
feeling this is because the game immediately dropped to $20.
It's
I think that's why.
and then immediately lost all those people that
Yep.
bought it.
And then finally rounding out the list is Super Mario 3D All Stars.
Oh yeah,
And
yeah, 'cause
that's
they
also
had to get it.
important note with 3D All Stars. 3D All Stars and Animal Crossing, because Nintendo doesn't release their digital sales, those games are at those positions without digital sales. And as we discussed, digital sales are 70% of game sales.
Yeah.
So I have a feeling if they included digital sales, Animal Crossing would probably be either number 2 or 1.
Yeah.
And Mario 3D All Stars would probably be somewhere in like the 6 to 7 range.
Yeah, definitely.
And not bringing out the rear. And then of course, best-selling console games in Japan. Animal Crossing's number 1, Ring Fit number 2, and Final Fantasy VII Remake number 3.
A surprise to
about
no
right.
one.
Yep, surprising new one. And Ghost of Tsushima number 10. So
Also not
did well in
surprising.
Japan as well. All right, so now for the fun part, Metacritic.
Oh.
Oh no.
It's Metacritic time, everyone. So what I want to know is, what do you guys think the top scoring Metacritic game of this year is? It is one game, the highest Metacritic score.
I don't want it to be, but just because I hate myself, I'm gonna say Last of Us 2.
Either that, because it's Metacritic, I'm gonna throw out Hades, possibly.
Okay.
I can see
Yeah.
that getting a really high score.
I will say that the second place tie from the Metacritic is a 5-way tie.
Oh God.
Jesus.
Well,
That's
it is a review site, so it's
Yeah.
not like they don't go out of their way to make one the ultimate game of the year review compared to all the other ones. So I
The
guess that makes
highest
sense.
Metacritic score from this year is a 95. So what game do you think has a 95 on Metacritic? Last of Us Part 2. Right now we have Hades. And then there is a 5-way tie at 93. But yeah, any final guesses thrown in there aside from those two? No? Great, because I don't think any of you would get it. It's Persona 5 Royale.
What?
Oh.
What?
Is the highest rated game of this
You
year.
never see it coming.
What?
Wow.
And it's not with a small number of reviews either. It is just by far the highest rated game that has come out this year. Then our 5-way tie is between Hades, Last of Us Part 2, Half-Life Alyx, Dragon Quest XI-S, and Ori and the Will of the Wisps, but only on Nintendo Switch.
What?
Okay.
Ori and the Will of the Wisps on Xbox only has a 90.
Okay, yeah, I'm looking at it. Persona 5.
Yep, it's Persona 5
Okay.
took the top. And then what do you think are any last rounders that you guys want to throw in here for the next 5 games?
I think it's going to be the game of the year list, pretty much, from at least will be in the rest of the top 10. The game of the year.
Great,
list from the Game Awards.
extremely wrong.
Oh.
Our next game is Demon Souls, the remake. Then we have
Okay.
Microsoft Flight Simulator. Then we have Crusader Kings 3.
I love just the silence.
Extremely wrong.
Just very wrong. F1 2020. And
Very
Spelunky 2.
Just
of course-
suffer.
We have Animal Crossing New Horizons at a 90. And then the surprise hitter, a game. I'm going to see if anyone can even get close to this game. If you can give me the franchise this game is from,
Minecraft.
I'll give you points. But
Minecraft.
a game came out this year that came out on every other platform a long time ago, but because it released on Xbox this year, is eligible for this.
Oh.
Oh, wait a minute. Wait. I think I know it, but my brain.
Kill all humans? No.
Didn't
That's a game.
Destroy All
No,
Humans
it's
is a
just
game, yeah.
Destroy all humans. Yeah.
Destroy all humans.
Is it
Oh,
Final
has it been left
Fantasy
today?
15 that had like a more recent release on Xbox than the other ones?
It did. It's up to you if you think that's the game.
I'm gonna go whole hog.
That's gonna
with
make
that
me
one.
sad if that's what it is.
It's gonna make me sad too because 15 sucks.
15 is terrible.
All right.
15 wasn't this year.
It is
Oh, was it?
Yakuza 0, rounding out the list at with a solid
0.
90, because Yakuza 0 came out in like 2016, but the Xbox did not get it until February of this year. So it arrived in February on the Xbox and thus is eligible for this. Because
And
Xbox
Xbox
reviews
loves it
only puts it
now.
at 90. So yeah.
Okay. Huh.
I'm not disappointed.
Well then,
I
with
don't
the
even.
last
I
one.
don't know what to say.
It's the surprise hitter. I would also say the surprise hitter really is probably Microsoft Flight Simulator in this list of things that you would expect to
Well,
have
it
like a
left us
91.
completely
Did you
just
hear like my
silent.
laughing? Like my
Yeah.
laughing when you said Microsoft Flight
I'm just glad to see
Simulator.
Crusader Kings on this list, to be honest. Crusader Kings and Hades especially. It's good to see some games that I think typically don't have as wide of an audience starting
I
to
bought
see that
Hades
audience.
for 2 people for Christmas, and they were both
It's
happy
great.
about it. So I didn't buy it for myself. I feel like I probably should.
You definitely should. All right. So now I got to ask a question to all of you. What do you think the last in-person convention this year was related to video games?
Ooh.
I don't know much about
this year,
video game conventions, for being honest.
huh?
In-person convention, like you can go there and there will be like
Yeah, you were
like,
encouraged.
you can go there as a regular old civilian. but not,
Only
like, a press.
in-person convention. Yeah.
Okay.
Which convention do you think cut it the closest?
Oof.
I
I don't even know.
I remembered video games, and I was just about to say something very outrageous, like DashCon or something.
It's
Yeah,
possible.
I'm gonna go rain first with this one.
I was just about to say that.
It is a video game related convention, and it's a big one too. Like you definitely would know of this one.
Okay.
Just gonna start throwing out names. Just BlizzCon, TennoCon.
Wow, you guys are all. It was PAX
All I
East.
know is
PAX
all I know
East.
is
I did it.
Comic-Con. That's all
I
I
did it.
know.
PAX East was literally like 2 weeks before everything shut down. Is when it
'Cause
happened.
I think I
What is
remember
it?
a couple
What was
friends going to
PAX East was it was March February
PAX,
27th.
Okay. No, I know what that is too.
Yeah, February 27th to March 1st was PAX East, which was like the final week before it was announced the pandemic, and then GDC at the end of March shut down and decided not to have an in-person convention, and then that was our last gaming convention that happened
The last vestige.
in person, at least. Like there have been other big events, so like the DICE Summit, and lots of other stuff has been happening, but that was the last big one. Okay, so now we had some console releases this year.
Oh, did
A
we?
few.
We did.
I wasn't aware.
The Soldier Boy, yeah, the Soldier Boy.
Both record-breaking releases. They've sold out of stock. Like the issue here isn't people not buying them; it's they cannot make them fast enough for the amount of people that want them, and they've already broken all the sales records they had. So
Cannot
both,
contend with the amount of scalpers. That
Yeah.
are-
I was
yeah,
gonna
they
say,
can't.
yeah.
Like both PS5 and Xbox Series X are doing nuts and like crazy successful.
All I care about is the KFC gaming console. That's
Yeah,
all.
like this is.
I just want the fried chicken
I
while
just
I
want the
We
get
got the
chicken.
KFC console announced, which for people that don't know about the KFC console, it is a PC tower. It's not its
Shame
own
on you,
console.
first of all.
Yeah, shame on you. It's a PC tower. It's not an actual console that they're selling. It is a very
But I mean,
specifically
look at it.
designed PC console
But
by
I mean,
Cooler
look at
Master.
it.
It looks incredible, and it has a chicken tray.
No, like okay.
It looks so
All right,
cool. I'll
goofs
give it to them.
aside, if I saw that as like a game console or a PC like case, I'd be like, "That's cool. That's kind of dope." Actually.
It's also insane high specs. Like that thing probably costs a few $1,000s at least.
well, yeah. You got to have enough heat to heat up your chicken.
Oh yeah, of course.
Gotta
So
keep
that
the
happened.
chicken.
But we also had, aside from the Series X and PlayStation 5, there were some other consoles that released this year. Some bits of hardware that exist. So I'm curious, can you guys tell me 2 of the consoles or hardware piece things that released that resemble consoles essentially.
Didn't Sega have one of their like mini classic like a
All right, so we have a Sega
those
console thrown
tiny
in,
little like one of those little like
like a
looks
mini
like
console.
Genesis. It's like a mini Genesis. It's got a ton of
All
Genesis
right.
games.
All right.
I don't know if
Anything
that
else?
counts,
Pac-Man.
but
I'm gonna go with the Pac-Man plug and play on this one.
The Pac-Man plug and play. All right.
regrettably,
Not
the
far
Atari
off,
box
Brett.
did
Not
come
far
out
off.
this
I don't know, one of those McDonald's Sonic games.
year.
Man, you guys all forgot about the Atari VCS.
I said
what?
that.
Oh
Ah,
my
well, I did
that.
say it.
That's right.
Oh, you did?
Excuse me.
I must have
I
missed
called
it.
it okay. I called it Atari box because I forgot. the
Oh,
actual-
okay, okay.
What
Close enough
what
because I don't
meant-
know. I don't know what
I meant.
VCS means, so that's close
Video
enough.
So-
computer system.
I don't think we actually know. Technically, this is supposed to release in December, but we're not sure if it's actually released yet or not. Because I don't think anyone's really reporting on this thing.
They got like 2 days.
So apparently they have started shipping to backers from wherever it was,
I haven't heard anything
Kickstarter or
about it.
something.
Yeah.
So it has started shipping, but people still don't know what this thing 100% is.
Good.
We know it
Good.
costs as much as a next gen system.
Yeah, it
Oh,
costs
good,
like
good.
$300.
And it just plays Atari
A little bit
games
less
on
than a
it or
next gen
something.
system, but
Not just Atari games. It has a bunch of preloaded classic Atari games on it, but
Yeah.
it also is coming out with its own, software. It's its own like exclusive games, which I'm sure we're all excited about.
the
There's
hardware
really-
inside of
there's
it
really
is
hyped
compatible.
projects such as
The hardware inside is comparable to a computer from 2017, like a mid-range PC is what
What?
has been stated about the hardware inside.
Why are
Also,
they
my laptop that I threw away.
Why are they acting like the Internet Explorer of consoles?
I don't know why.
And it includes a classic controller with the single button design of the original Atari.
Ah,
I-
yeah, great.
You know what? I will say if you look at like the actual aesthetic design of it, it's actually quite nice looking. I think that's the only bit of praise they're ever going to get because I actually think it looks nice.
Oh,
if
and the
you know
hardware
what
here
you're
for the
doing.
price actually isn't bad, but the big thing is like I don't think anything is going to support this.
No,
No,
not
no.
at all.
I could see this maybe being good for like hacking. I could see some really cool homebrew stuff happening
Emulator
surrounding
stuff
this.
on it.
But there's probably more accessible ways to get like a
Because
hack.
the intro price for a VCS is $200, and then it goes up between $300 for the collector's edition or $400 for the tribute edition. I don't know what that is.
I think the tribute edition because like the traditional console's all black, and I think the tribute edition has some like wood grain on it, kind of like the original.
Yeah.
System.
Okay.
I mean, it's
I-
got
I
an
do know a little
M.2
bit about
drive
this.
inside. It's got
I have been somewhat following this whole thing just because like I'm really into like retro hardware, and I'm just fascinated by why they thought this was
Yeah.
a good idea.
well, it's just weird because
Fascinated by
this
why
thing
they thought this was a good idea.
is simultaneously like overspec'd and underspec'd. It's got 8 gigabytes of RAM, but only if you get the model that's better of the two. Or it's got 4 gigabytes. It's just so weird. Like this is just such an odd console to exist.
If there's ever a console that's had a complete lack of self-awareness, I think this would take the cake.
It is no longer Ouya anymore. It is now this, which
Yeah.
is depressing.
But Ouya was like a bigger failure because all eyes were on it and no one.
Oh,
cared
yeah.
about this at all.
No one did care about this.
I care to the extent of I want to see how big of a disaster it'll be, and not because I'm actually invested in it in any way. You know?
Yeah. I mean, from what I'm getting from this, it seems to have been like a crowdfunded console. So the reality is they're likely not losing money on this
It's
because people had already bought into it. It's just such a weird console. And then we do have 3 other console-like things that came out this year aside from the next gen consoles. The Game Gear Micro. So Wyatt was right. Sega did release a Game Gear Micro this year that you can buy and do things with.
Why?
It's
Very descriptive.
it's basically just a Game Gear. It's kind of wild. And there was also the TurboGrafx 16 Mini
Oh
Why?
yeah. I remember that.
with such amazing games like
What even
Castlevania
is
Rondo
that?
of Blood.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. TurboGrafx 16 was actually kind of a cool system. It came out in Japan as the PC Engine, as this like tiny little like thing you could fit in the palm of your hand. It was really cool. And then when it made its way to the US, it has a much dumber name, and like the design where it basically stretched the entire thing out so it's really wide for some reason, for like no reason, and it's actually kind of a cool system, but it just didn't do as well because the NES was out at the time. It just destroyed everything. So
Yeah, the TurboGrafx
ta-da!
Mini
There's
happened.
your little history
And there
lesson
are some
for
really
the
cool
game.
games on this. Like this has Ease
Yeah.
1 and 2, Ease Book 1 and 2. It's got Space Harrier. You got Ninja Gaiden, the original,
Like you
Castlevania
said, it had
Rondo of
Rondo
Blood,
Yep.
Bomberman. It's got some really cool games. Like this is a neat little system.
And it was pretty powerful for the time it came out too. Like it was pretty impressive back in the day. But yeah, it just didn't catch on the same way.
All right, that's our console releases. So of course we've still got more things. So I want you guys to take a guess at what the most covered games, like what game had the highest amount of articles written about it this year.
Cyberpunk.
Cyberpunk.
Oh
All right.
wait, okay. For me, it's a toss up between Cyberpunk and Last of Us 2. Actually,
Avengers.
Most articles. Wow. I think it's gonna be Cyberpunk.
All right.
I know it's going to be Cyberpunk, but in the slight chance that it's not, I'm going to say Avengers.
Okay. Well, Cyberpunk is number 2 on this list with 72,491 articles at the time of this information being released.
someone had to
Stop.
count that. Someone had to count that.
It's probably done
Someone
by
had to
search
go around the
engine.
internet.
It's probably done by search
I
engines,
know,
I bet.
but still.
Fortnite is number 1.
Ah!
Oh God! Come
Well
on.
then.
Wait, why? What?
Master Chief.
It's all the character
they
crossovers. They got the
could, but,
Mandalorian, they got Master Chief. Like
Wow.
you can make an
they-
article with Fortnite just
didn't
by
they have
slapping
their,
whatever
like-
new characters there on an article and being like, this character's here.
Didn't
Wow,
have
they
their,
made a
like,
whole God of
version
War
2
game off
or
of the guy
whatever?
from Fortnite.
Didn't they have like a whole like version 2 or 2.0 release or whatever? Was that last year? I don't know.
Yeah, that was like Fortnite
This whole
Chapter 2
thing.
was a thing. But you
Or
couldn't.
like,
They made it so you could not play the game for like a day.
was that this year or was that last year?
Last year.
Because
It
then I
was
kind of
last year, I think.
Okay, then it makes more sense because like their whole chapter 2, whatever it was called, had like a completely. They kind of like changed the art style a little bit, from what I understand. They like added
Really?
a lot of stuff.
Doesn't look like it.
Maybe, and I could have got that wrong because I could not care less.
I mean, a
about
big part of the
Fortnite.
reason is that
It was-
Fortnite gets consistent updates, and they can make updates, articles of every update. So,
Yeah.
and it's not by much. It's only by like 3,000 articles that Fortnite's in the lead over Cyberpunk. So,
Only by 3,000.
yeah, that's
I mean, but-
that's not a lot in the
No, it's
grand
not.
scheme of things. Considering like how
How
many
much-
different languages and whatnot are covered, all that.
How much more articles were about Fortnite and Cyberpunk than everything else? Because they're like a huge
About
space
20,000.
too. Yeah.
Oh,
There you go.
yeah.
There's the gap. The next game is Last of Us Part 2 with 57,000 articles. So it's a
Makes
solid
sense.
gap of like 15,000 between the next two. And then Animal Crossing is 50,000.
Oh.
Then there's Destiny 2 and Minecraft sitting together within 1,000 of each other. Then there's another gap down to GTA 5.
I don't care about either of those, but I'd much rather read an article about Minecraft than Destiny 2.
Mhm.
And then of course the rest of these are pretty expected. There's like Pokemon Go, Valorant, Ghost of Tsushima, Warzone,
Pokemon Go.
Doom Eternal had a bunch of articles. I think probably overall the Mick Gordon stuff is why it's on here, I'm betting.
You're
That
right,
that
yeah.
makes sense.
And then of course League of Legends is there. There are some notable absences from this list that are interesting. Watch Dogs Legion, not present. Halo Infinite, not present.
Oh,
Despite all the
count.
controversy,
yeah, that's a good point.
Halo Infinite had 17,000 articles, but I think there was really only that to talk about. There wasn't much else,
Yeah.
so that's probably why. Assassin's Creed Valhalla, probably too new, is my bet. Because Cyberpunk like had a ton of articles before it was even released, whereas Valhalla kind of went under the radar, at least in terms of crazy amounts of articles. Fall Guys is the big one that stands out to me as being weird,
You're
as
right.
well as Among Us.
True.
Yeah, I was about to say Among Us. Yeah.
Yeah. Those are both sitting around like 10,000, so not a ton. And of course, I think everyone here can guess what the most watched game on YouTube is.
Among Us.
Really? You're going straight for Among Us.
Maybe. now I'm not so
Guys.
sure.
Among Us is probably, it might be up there for most streamed.
Oh, streamed versus watched. Yeah.
And
yeah, a lot of streamers
Among Us
stream it.
does
Mhm.
have, I can tell Among Us is the most Googled game
Oh, okay.
of this year.
Huh.
Okay.
The most watched game this year, Minecraft.
Yeah.
Of course,
Really?
it's Minecraft.
Back to the good old days.
Back to
Nothing has
Minecraft.
ever changed.
It's Minecraft and Roblox are the top two, and Minecraft by it has almost 3 times as many views as Roblox.
10-year-olds.
201 billion Minecraft videos, Minecraft views.
Oh my lord. We need to be making more Minecraft content on our
Yeah, really.
on the
No more Star
podcast,
Wars
honestly.
podcasts.
Of course, there's the top
What is
YouTube
your favorite
influencers
nether block?
category. I don't think any one of us. I'm gonna read out some names. I want you to tell me if anyone here recognizes a single one of them. All right. I think that'll be the best
Go for
variation
it.
of this game. We have Flamingo.
No.
No.
Nope. Afmao.
No.
No.
Jelly.
No.
FG Teve.
No.
TV.
No.
It's Funny.
No.
Slogo Man.
No.
Sunday with 2 S's.
No.
Felipe Nito.
No.
I Am Santa.
No, you're not.
And of course, Arab Games Network.
Oh, thank God.
I
Okay,
feel
those games. All right, let me tell you. Those names.
so old.
Okay, those names came out
Who?
one of two ways. Either someone just slapped their keyboard and saw what name come out, or they used a random word generator.
It's also confusing because these seem like esports
swear.
player names. They don't even seem like
do.
YouTube channels names.
Just stick phase in a bunch at the
Yeah.
end of all those names, and it sounds right at home.
Yeah. All right.
Phase Arrow Network.
So now I've got a bit of stats here that are really interesting. Most discussed on Twitter.
Ooh.
Okay.
Oh no.
Last
So-
of Us Part 2.
Yeah,
Very different from the article list actually, which is surprising me.
I'm gonna say
It
Last of
is
Us too.
very different. All right.
I saw so
Wait,
many tweets
discussed
on The Last of Us 2.
Most discussed on Twitter.
Last of Us 2 in first place and Cyberpunk in second place.
Okay.
That sounds about right to me.
Mm-hmm.
But I
All
mean,
right.
I've been guessing those two for every
So
category.
Last of Us
Yeah.
Part 2 is on the list and it does have a 1, but it's also got a 0. It's number 10.
Oh my god.
You have to phrase it like that.
That's a one.
Asshole.
That's a 0.
I mean, you guys get some credit for being close. Cyberpunk is number 3.
Should be on there. What?
Cyberpunk is number 3. Among Us is not on here.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think people tweet to discuss Among Us that option.
That's true.
Yeah.
That often.
There's
It's
nothing
probably
to
more like
discuss, you're just
announcement
sus.
tweets. Yeah. So going for number 9. Number 9 is Fortnite. Down at the bottom. Valhalla next. Ghost of Tsushima after that. Warzone after that. Then we have Fall Guys. Fall Guys kind of was a Twitter phenomenon for a while.
Yeah.
And there was Black Ops Cold War is number 4, then Cyberpunk, then Animal Crossing, people tweeting
Yeah.
their villages, of
Oh
course.
yeah. Yeah.
And then Final Fantasy 14 at number 1.
Excuse me?
Okay.
Yeah. It is an ongoing MMO.
Ongoing MMO, and it's also the
A
one
lot
that
of
I think
information.
has the most people invested in the narrative of it, like tweeting about it.
Yeah.
I
Um,
doubt the validity of this list because where are all the articles and stuff talking about Rocket Arena? Okay.
Of
Ah,
course.
yes. Where are all
Of
the players
course,
for Rocket
the
Arena?
Rocket Arena. And of course, we have our list of top trailers. Cyberpunk again at the bottom of this one.
Top viewed or like
Top
rated
viewed,
or
top
what?
viewed.
Oh, okay.
So this is, of course, Fortnite at the top, and then it's a lot of just marketing material. This is basically whichever game's got the most marketing, because you can see Warzone is next, Mortal Kombat 11 after that, Black Ops Cold War, Crash Bandicoot 4, Grand Theft Auto 5, PUBG, and then Call of Duty again. It's like,
PUBG?
I have not heard
PUBG.
it pronounced that way before.
I like
you know, PUBG,
PUBG.
PUBG,
PUBG.
PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds. Then yeah, that's most of our like big article stuff. There's lots of weird games in those lists. I think Final Fantasy 14 is the most surprising thing
Yeah.
that's still being discussed that much. And for reference, it has 924,000 tweets
I mean, I hear
about,
nothing but good
or
things
retweets
about
about Final Fantasy 14. So tons of stuff about Final Fantasy 14. Now, console ownership.
Mm.
So this is an interesting one because it's not based on what console is most owned. It's based on by console what percentage of owners of that console own another console? So if I tell you PlayStation 4, what percentage of PlayStation 4 players do you think own a Nintendo Switch?
30.
Me.
Me as well.
Good.
Yeah, that's me.
I'm gonna say like 40-45%.
All right.
I mean, that's Ryan and I. That's at least.
That's
And
at least
me.
90% of
I
And
own
me.
both.
Yeah, I think that's the most common split for people.
Probably,
So
yeah.
people that would consider the PlayStation 4 their primary console, 36% of them own a Nintendo Switch, and 35% own a Xbox One.
Interesting.
People that have a Nintendo Switch listed as their primary console, 60% of them own a PlayStation 4. 51% own a Xbox One. And then if you play on Xbox One primarily, 40% Nintendo Switch, 46% PlayStation 4.
For Xbox, that sounds about right.
Yeah. They're pretty high for that.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we just have some random stats. So can anyone tell me what Animal Crossing New Horizons global sales for the first 6 months were?
Everything, all the money.
Every single green
Everyone
dollar.
Big
on
number.
the
Everything
planet.
they were doing to buy
Big
Animal
number.
In double digits.
It's in the double digits.
It is $26
Oh my God.
million.
Oh my! And that's no digital sales, right?
I don't know for this one. This one is just listed as that, but I would presume so.
Wow.
Jeez.
So yeah, that's a lot. I think it's actually copies sold and not dollars, because it's making a lot of money.
I think it beats
Animal
Animal
Crossing is insane. All right, then we have what do you think the total number of gamers in China is?
What?
all of them.
God, I feel like I'm back
Every
doing
single
cooking
gamer?
classes again.
Every game?
Every gamer.
all
Every
the gamers. We're in China. We're broadcasting from China right now.
Actually, I don't think we are. I don't think we can actually say that.
Oh,
No.
China's got some very restrictive streaming stuff. I don't think Twitch is available in general.
Really? Oh,
no,
okay.
they have their own thing. Just
I think the audio
That
version
was,
is
that was a
available.
slight jest.
Yeah, they have Bilibili, I believe, that is their own platform. But yeah, there are 720 million gamers in China. It is a huge market.
which is
I also
why
just have a lot of
everyone.
people there.
Which is why everyone wants to appease them.
Yeah. All right. So after that, what do you think the total market U.S. spending on video games was this year? So consumer spending on video games in the U.S.
Oh god.
However many dollars was spent on Animal Crossing times 2.
It was all in doubloons.
It was all in doubloons.
Brett, that is surprisingly close. It is 44.5 billion.
Yes.
Amazing.
Okay. So this is the one I think everyone's gonna hate, which is what percentage of total market revenue came from in-game spending?
Oh god.
This is our
Fortnite.
microtransactions.
These are the Fortnite transactions.
Yep.
Thanks, FIFA.
And all
And the
those
Among Us
children.
pets.
I was gonna say all those children bankrupting their families on FIFA.
Yeah. And Madden.
The Among Us pets.
The Among Us.
I'm not gonna lie,
The
that's
Among Us
my-
Jeff Keighley
money.
mask.
You're not gonna bankrupt your family. buying
Jeff
Among
Keighley's
Us
shoes.
pets.
All right. What I want to hear some percentages coming out. Wyatt, I feel like you're ready.
I'm not ready. Your feelings are incorrect.
Well, too bad you're on the spot now.
Oh God.
Oh. Pass.
I'll do it.
Just give me a
Thank
percentage.
you, Alex.
79.
All right, great.
That's even higher than I was gonna go.
Brett,
I was gonna go 50.
50. All right. Tess.
53.
All right.
Ooh.
Classic tactic. Wyatt.
I'll go 65.
Alex, you are the closest. It is 74%.
Oh.
Oh,
Disgusting.
I
Oh.
really wish I wasn't right.
Yeah, I had more
Thank
faith
you.
in us than that, but yeah.
All right. And of course, this is a memory recall question because I know many of you know the answer to this. How much did it cost Microsoft to acquire Bethesda's parent company, ZeniMax Media?
Oh.
Ooh,
What was the cost of that deal?
the Louisiana Purchase.
I believe it was like 7 billion.
Pennies on the acre.
I think that's my final answer.
All right. Anyone else? No?
I
All right.
I don't remember.
Is
Why
it
it's pretty close. It's 7.5 billion.
Oh wow.
Okay,
All right. All right.
good job.
I'll accept. I'll take
Okay.
that.
It's a big
Chunky number.
big chunk of revenue. All right, so now I got some neat little factoids. All right, we got some neat little things. And they're from Steam. So these are some Steam
job.
statistics. There goes the English.
Get your Steam
It
stuff.
has
So
to
thi-
go in sometime.
This is the highest grossing games on Steam in the order that Valve told people about them, which we think is the order they are.
Okay.
But it's hard to know.
Half-Life Alex.
So, what do you think the number one highest grossing game on Steam is?
We're sounding like Minecraft villagers over here.
It's weird. I need to like think of what is on Steam and not like Epic, or isn't it like a console exclusive? Because it can't. It's not. I don't think Hades is number one. And Hades is probably going to be up there, but like you can't instantly.
Yeah, because it
Instantly
was a
Last of
lot
Us.
of those sales were on
Last
Epic.
of Us 2. No.
Cyberpunk is probably up there.
Yeah.
I don't know anything else.
Okay.
I would say like Fall Guys or Among Us, probably.
Yeah, right. Fall Guys and Among Us are up there.
I'm gonna go
Yeah.
with Cyberpunk, I think.
Number one, Dota 2.
Oh,
Huh.
Number two, I think Wyatt's gonna like this, Doom Eternal.
yeah. I do
Number
like it.
number three, we got Fall Guys.
Okay.
Finally,
Four.
Doom Eternal gets something.
Doom Eternal finally won something. It's still only second place. Grand Theft Auto
I
5.
expected it to rip and tear more in these awards.
And then, of course, gotta rep one of my favorite franchises. Monster Hunter World is up there as well.
Oh, sick.
And then Red Dead 2,
That makes sense.
Rainbow Six Siege, Counter-Strike,
Also makes sense because
PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds again. What was that, Alex?
updates. Oh, the Siege makes sense because of it's another subscription service.
Like
Live
getting those
service?
new
Is that-
operators. Yeah, game as a service.
Yeah.
And then Among Us, of
Yes.
course, is up there. Destiny 2 with Beyond Light. And then
Yep.
rounding out the end of the list, Cyberpunk 2077.
Huh.
Yeah, right.
The very bottom.
You making fun of me?
All right, so now we've got some fun VR questions.
Half-Life Alex.
So,
Bugsnax.
what do you guys think the North American of gamers? What percentage own VR?
2.
I'm gonna say like maybe 10%.
Yeah, I'm on the lower side.
10%.
All right,
15?
15. Tess, you got a guess here? And this includes any VR system.
Oh.
Wait, what's the question? I'm sorry.
What percentage of US gamers would also have a VR system? This can be either PlayStation VR or like Vive and Index,
I want to
Oculus.
say like 35.
Ooh, going high.
All right. Go
All
big or
right,
go home.
Wyatt was I think Wyatt and Alex were the closest with 8%.
Okay.
Oh wow.
Being
Okay.
the amount. That's still a lot though, because the US number of gamers is
I forgot
extremely
how
big.
expensive VR was.
So now here's the interesting one. What do you think the growth rate of VR is over this year?
Probably a lot.
With
Considering
Half-Life Alex, I would say it's a lot.
Alex, and I think people are starting to get more. They're starting to believe in it more than just seeing it as like a novelty.
Mostly because of Alex, though.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, it grew
Alex,
40.1%
my
this
part.
year.
That's a big grow.
Yeah,
That's
it's a large growth.
grow.
It's big time.
Now, here's the rub for last generation. Because the generation of consoles we all know and love, the PS4 and Xbox One, are coming to an end. We, of course, have to look at how badly the PlayStation beat the Xbox One in sales. It's not a question of if the PlayStation sold more, it's a question of how badly.
How badly?
Right.
So, how many times over do you think the PlayStation 5 sold over the Xbox?
God.
Oh.
Like 20.
It is a single-digit
5.
number,
Oh.
so I'll give you that hint. It's not something crazy like it's selling 50 times more. It is a single-digit number.
5. Solid middle of the pack 5.
All right.
7.
I'll go 10. Screw it.
He said single digit number.
That's why I said screw it.
All right.
Okay.
You got a guess, Tess?
10.
8.
All right, you guys have so little confidence in the Xbox. It's kind of stunning. It sold 2.5 times as many.
Oh. Well,
Can you blame us though? I mean,
you kind of overhyped that one a little bit.
yeah. Well, also just because of what we know, just
Which is nothing.
previous. Well, and
You know nothing.
Yeah.
well, I know nothing. I expect more out of you guys.
Bad decision.
Apparently.
Great. So now we're gonna start some fights with the movie industry because the movie industry, we all know, people talk about box office revenue, but the big question is, what do you think the breakdown is for the entertainment business? Video games or movies? Which one, or Hollywood? Which one is bigger, essentially?
Video games.
I heard box office residue when I'm kind of stuck.
This year or just like in general?
Well, I
we're going with 2018 statistics for this because this year is a little
Okay.
bit weird
Yeah.
for movie industry.
video games, I would say.
I think box office.
It is video games are about 3 times more. So box office
Video game.
global box office revenue in 2018 was 41.7 billion. The gaming market in 2018 generated 151.2 billion. And for comparison to this year was 174.9 billion. So it is a much larger market.
Yeah, especially now.
Oh,
Okay,
Yeah.
makes sense.
getting rid of the competition.
All right, so now we're going to talk less about some stats and more about some games that happened this year and some games that didn't happen this year. So Blizzard announced
Hello.
Halo Infinite.
Looking at you.
yeah, Halo Infinite is up there. So Blizzard announced finally after 10 years that StarCraft 2 would stop receiving support.
That's pretty impressive. 10 years of support. That's
Yeah.
It's a pretty good run.
It's a very long run for StarCraft 2. We had some studios closing.
Oh,
So
really?
I'm gonna. So even before the pandemic started, Star Theory Games closed, which for those who don't know is the actually no, this was right around the pandemic starting. Star Theory Games was the original developers of Monday Night Combat.
Oh, that makes me sick.
And they were also slated to develop Kerbal Space Program 2, but that
Aw.
then got moved over to, I believe, Intercept Game Studios. So it's not them anymore. But Star Theory shut down, and I will miss Monday Night Combat forever. It was a fantastic game.
Monday Night Combat or Super Monday Night Combat? Which one are we talking about?
Both.
Both. Okay, that's fair.
Yeah, it was the same developer for both. We had a lot of people leaving companies, like a lot of people.
Did we?
So
A whole episode just about that.
We totally could, but the first like major one was Rod Ferguson left the Gears of War series. He used to be the lead of the franchise and left the Coalition to go to Blizzard to oversee Diablo, which is, I think, something that gets overshadowed a lot because of all the other high-profile people leaving. But Rod Ferguson leaving Gears is pretty major.
No, it is. Definitely.
But it's not very worrying because Gears is not in the progress of a new game that's about to release. They're probably in the beginning stages of planning their next one.
And also, the series itself has been doing great. As somebody who played Gears 5, it's the only Gears game I've ever played. I was like, wow, that's actually pretty good.
Yeah.
So I'm sure it's in good hands.
Yeah, I have a lot of faith that Microsoft, at least overseeing that, has some good people in play
And
at the Coalition.
They've proven themselves, I think. They've made what? They did 4... Didn't they do what was it called? Judgment? Or what was that other one? It was like between 4 and... That doesn't matter. Anyway.
Yeah, I don't know what that one was called. After that, we had Rockstar Games co-founder, Dan Houser, leaving. Who was also the lead writer. Yeah, a lot of these people forget about because they're not... they're not the most recent, and we had tons of this stuff happening, especially with BioWare.
Dan Houser, that's huge. That's like major because I mean, co-writer.
Yeah, he was the lead writer on everything.
The lead writer, excuse me.
He was the co-founder of the studio, but the lead writer.
Right, I got the titles confused. Excuse me, but
which does make sense because I mean, Red Dead 2 had just come out. It is pretty natural for people to leave their game company at a certain point. Like he's been with that company since it started.
But now, to me, what that immediately says is like, well, crap. Now, like,
are they going to find someone good enough to do it?
Yeah, because the writing was like by far Red Dead.
And like he was the lead writer on every single game that Rockstar put out except for LA Noire. That's like the LA Noire in a game called Smugglers Run War Zones. He was the only 2 games that he wasn't a lead writer on.
That's because LA Noire wasn't really a Rockstar project. It was more.
And he was the executive producer on LA Noire, so it's not like he wasn't involved, right. But he was still. He wasn't writing.
But the studio wasn't direct. I mean, they were directly involved, but they weren't like the direct developer. There was another team. I forgot who it was, but someone else was working on it. Anyway, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. So yeah, he's gone. Another console series ending. The Nintendo 3DS family was officially announced to be ending.
Oh yeah.
Gone but not forgotten.
One of Nintendo's like most successful. Maybe not comparatively. I think comparatively it was less successful than the original DS by a decent margin. But still, they were making tons of revenue off of the 3DS and still are, I believe. So 3DS had a good run. And it's finally time to say goodbye to those 240p screens.
This this time came a lot later than I thought it was going to, because I was like fully expecting them to just drop the 3DS as soon as the Switch came out, but like support was, kind of went along a little longer than I was expecting.
I still want Samus Returns on Switch. It's not they only released it on DS after the Switch was out. So yeah, there's a lot of games that are only on 3DS still.
I'm sure they'll make their way there eventually. They've been doing a really good job of porting stuff over. But
I don't know. At this point, I would be surprised if we got them before a Switch 2 or Switch Pro, whatever their next plan is.
Oh boy.
And then yeah, in September we got the big plans of Xbox Game Studios to acquire ZeniMax, which included all the subsidiaries. People talk about Bethesda a lot, but that also meant Arcane, id, Machine Games, and Tango Gameworks. Are being acquired. And of course, the thing a lot of people also don't know about these is these acquisitions aren't immediate. So this actual acquisition is slated to take place in 2021. It hasn't actually happened yet, but the difference between those two things isn't that major because, as you can see, like Skyrim is coming to Game Pass, all that stuff. Like they're already moving forward with their big plans. So not a huge roadblock, but it does mean that acquisition isn't officially finished until 2021. So, an interesting bit of news: the Roblox Corporation became a public corporation this year,
That's
Thank
right.
God.
November
Thank God.
19th. So, what I want to know is how much U.S. dollars do you think the Roblox Corporation was worth when it went public?
Many doubloons.
The population of people under the age of 15 times at least 100.
That might come out to be pretty close.
Conservative.
That might come out to be pretty close. It is $37 billion.
Oh my God!
What?
That's so much money.
How?
Dude, you do not mess with
That's-
Roblox. You do
Like,
not.
that's people losing their family's house from FIFA money.
It's a lot of money.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
God, people's Roblox girlfriends are being pampered.
and yeah, we had another retirement from the games industry. Mitchell Ansel from Beyond Good and Evil.
I'm getting my shout out.
Also
of the
retired.
Alex joke.
Amazon announced a cloud gaming platform.
Oh yeah.
Oh, they did.
So
What's it called?
Amazon Luna
Oh yeah, it was like something with an L.
is happening.
Don't let them have any more of the market, please.
It's a channel style subscription. And I think it's technically in either beta or alpha right now. You can use it for some stuff. And I think I've actually heard it works a little better than Stadia in a lot of instances.
I have heard it's better in a lot of instances.
Or more stable, at least.
I mean,
Yeah, which doesn't take much.
There is not, yeah.
And I can say, I don't think I talked about this on the podcast, but I did end up getting a Stadia from, if you use Google Music, which I use, they offered a free Stadia. So I got sent a Stadia and a month of the Pro for free. And I tried it out. Not good.
Play
Not
Cyberpunk
good.
on it and then
I
tell
played
us
the
if it's
the
true.
Immortals demo, the Phoenix Rising demo, and it was bad. Like there's like a solid half second of lag half the time.
Oh my God.
It's
Oh,
awful.
boy.
And like my
Disgusting.
connection is not bad. Like I have a pretty solid connection. So it was pretty surprising that it functioned that poorly.
It's a big oof.
Yeah, so Stadia
Sorry,
still
Google.
needs some time in the oven, and maybe it should just not come out again.
Wow.
Oh no.
It really doesn't work as well as they want it to right now, and I think a lot of that is probably not on Google. It's probably on service providers. But that's a problem that needs to be fixed if they want to do more streaming game stuff, because with what service providers currently do and like the throttling that happens, I think it's just not going to be viable unless you're in like a big city. And even then, like a computer is probably just a better option, or a console. By the time you have to
Just
buy
get
all the
yourself-
games and whatnot, you're really not saving yourself a lot of money. So,
Get yourself a Raspberry Pi and stop lying.
dude, get a Raspberry Pi, play some retro games. That's a good way
Do
to
it.
do it. All right. So we had some interesting news that came out of the last 2 weeks that we didn't really talk about because we don't tend to cover a lot of racing game stuff because it's usually pretty niche. But there was an acquisition ongoing of Take-Two acquiring Codemasters, who makes a lot of racing game series. I think they make Grid and Dirt, which are both pretty highly regarded racing game franchises. And Take-Two was set to acquire them in 2021. But guess who swoops in? EA swept
Oh.
in with a
Oh.
bid of 1.2 billion, expecting
no.
to acquire them. So Take-Two
Oh,
is no longer
no.
acquiring Codemasters, and
I
EA
mean,
has completed their bid.
Bad. Take-Two is almost as bad, to be honest with you.
I think you're thinking of 2K, Wyatt.
Take-Two? No, Take-Two's...
Take-Two with racing games, at least, is pretty reliable. They tend to do well with racing.
Okay.
But the big concern now is that EA now owns almost all of the major racing game franchises, aside from like F1, I think.
Time to put microtransactions and
guess-
all of them up the wazoo.
Guess what games EA has been known to kill in the past. A lot of racing games. Burnout franchise dead from EA. We had there were meant to be a lot more sequels to Need for Speed that were good, and then they decided to do that weird online thing that just didn't work. And then they've had some bad Need for Speed games. Like that's kind of where racing games have been going to die recently. Like the one good, really well-known franchise outside of that is Forza, which is owned by Microsoft. So they're still doing well, but yeah, there aren't a lot of options for racing games now that aren't owned by EA or Microsoft. So
A damn shame.
yeah,
That's disgusting.
I think we have Gran Turismo from Sony, and that's about it. And even then, that's like the last big indie studio that did racing games, at least like realistic racing games. That is now kind of been swapped up by something. So yeah, that's our big list of acquisitions and whatnot. Aside from, of course, Tencent acquiring the parent company of Digital Extremes, so Warframe now owned by Tencent as well.
Weird.
What does that mean for its future?
Probably nothing. Tencent
updates?
tends to acquire things and not do anything at all.
Okay.
Which is better than acquiring them and killing them immediately after.
Yeah, because like Tencent
so
acquired
many-
part of Blizzard. They acquired Funcom a long time ago, but they really don't. They seem to be pretty hands off in general and just kind of do it to acquire companies. So yeah, that happened. Probably
It's
nothing's
just
gonna
scary
change.
How much Tencent owns in general.
Yeah, that's the big thing. Is Tencent is like on their way to becoming a monopoly of a lot of things. So
It's
and it's
nuts.
hard because they're not. If they were an American company, there'd probably be regulations against that. But they're basically a worldwide company at this point, so
which means free for all.
they're subject to a lot of different rules from a lot of different countries. So yeah, it's hard to know exactly what will happen with that. But odds are the only things that have really happened in some of the games Tencent has acquired is they've maybe pushed for additional cosmetic items. But I doubt that'll happen with Warframe because Warframe already has that. So
We already have so many.
yeah, I highly doubt anything crazy is going to happen. Especially because they didn't acquire directly Digital Extremes; they acquired the parent company of Digital Extremes.
Mm.
So likely nothing is going to be happening. But it is just something to be aware of. And that was a $1.5 billion deal, so pretty hefty. And yeah, that's most of our major things that happen this year, aside from, of course, console launches, which are kind of still petering out and happening. Because
there has been some talk about controllers for both, because I've been hearing some hubbub surrounding both the controllers for both systems.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's what we want to get into now, but I can speak to a little bit of my experience with it as well. But
yeah, we'll definitely be talking more about them in the future because right now it's just impossible to acquire them. Like both the Series X and the PS4 are sold, or PS5 are sold out everywhere. Like you can't get one at all. And there were like rumored restocks mid-December. Those restocks lasted for about less than a minute.
Yeah.
And most of them were gone to the websites crashing, essentially. Like Walmart had a few restocks and it just didn't work. So at this point, it's probably safest to just wait until things calm down to try and get a console.
It's pretty typical that like launch consoles and controllers and stuff tend to have some wonky issues. It shouldn't be that way,
Yeah.
but it is, unfortunately.
A lot of it is just because like you can't quality check that many things super easily, and so what likely ends up happening is they check for big issues, and then if there are no big issues, they send them out, and then figure it's probably easier to deal with like refunds and returns than it is to make sure you're not sending out faulty stuff at all.
Right.
Which I get. Like I understand that because you can't. If you're selling 3 million consoles, there's no way to know that like if one of them occasionally will crash at a very specific point in certain things. It's a hard thing to check for. And it's probably far easier for them to deal with returns and refunds, is my bet. Which I hear they have been, for both consoles, pretty reliable on, is getting stuff replaced if it's broken. But yeah, we'll see. As soon as we get a bigger number of people with those in hand, it'll be a lot easier to know because we'll have a larger sample size.
Speaking personally, I have noticed because I moved into an apartment recently, and so I had to carry a bunch of stuff over from my new place to my old place, and some of those things were the DualSense controller that I have for the PS5, and I've noticed now that the motors and everything inside of it makes noises where it didn't before, and you can hear like the different vibration motors kind of going off when you couldn't before, which was interesting, and they weren't really bumped around that much. I don't know, it was a little worrying, but we'll
But
have
yeah,
to
we'll
see.
see if there's actually anything that really happens with that, or if it's just they're a little loud. 'Cause again, I think you were talking to me, and you were like, it's hard to tell if they were like that before, and you might just be
Well,
have
yes
not
and
noticed
no.
it before.
I mean, even with headphones on, you can still kind of hear them where you couldn't before. I don't know. It's
Yeah, I mean, HD Rumble is the same way, so I wouldn't be surprised if that's just how they are now.
I would say that it's very distracting if you're playing without, like, if you're just playing through like your speakers, like I have been for a little bit. Like, you can definitely hear it over the speakers sometimes, which is kind of
I think the same thing happens with normal Rumble too, and probably not to the same degree. But yeah, it's certainly an issue to keep an eye out for, is if those controllers keep acting up like that, or if it's like a one-off issue.
yeah. And I'm a lot luckier in that regard, because there's also been reports of people like the triggers just becoming completely loose and not even working properly.
Oh,
Yeah, that always happens with console launches. You've got crazy stuff that happens.
Especially,
I remember
it's almost
PS3
worse.
had the same issue of controllers would not work.
It's almost worse in the PS5's case, because like the adaptive triggers are like one of the coolest.
Yeah, it's a selling point.
It's a selling point, yeah, and so it's kind of worrying that a lot of people, they're already starting to wear out. But
Yeah.
we'll see how that develops, obviously.
So hopefully those get sorted out. But yeah, that is something to keep an eye out on, is that kind of issue with these consoles. Luckily, by the time they probably get restocks in a large number that people can buy them, those issues will hopefully be slightly sorted out, or at least you'll know how to deal with them if they happen. But yeah, that is most of our like overarching news from the whole year, unless there's anything people want to talk about from the whole year that I've missed.
No, I think we've
covered most of it.
I think we did a pretty good job. Yeah.
All right, so
short but so long.
we've got some more things happening this week. So our past week in news, Among Us has hit 500 million monthly active users.
Good.
Good.
No way.
Roughly 500 million, so pretty close to that, which is the most popular game ever in terms of the monthly players they have. Like, that is
Seriously.
astounding.
Good.
Yeah,
a
I'm
fun
betting
game.
that free mobile version is probably what really pushes it. My bet.
Oh, I'm sure.
I hate mobile version though. It's awful.
Yeah, but it's a good way to try the game and then see if you want to buy it. Like,
It is
That's
free.
it's also on
It's-
Game Pass now.
It's also, I was about to say, it's also on Game Pass. Yep.
Yeah, so there's no barrier to entry to a lot of people.
They also
Um,
just recently put it on Switch.
Yeah, so that game's everywhere now. All right, we had some sad news. DirectX's creator has died at 55.
Oh, that's young.
Oh,
That is
What's
it's
that?
Eric
That's
Engstrom.
yeah.
I don't know if we actually have the reason. It probably sounds like, yeah, okay, so we do. It was complications from an injury. So yeah, not natural, which sucks. But yeah, he basically is the creator of everything that modern graphics technology uses. So
So you could say he's somewhat important and influential.
yeah, it's a pretty
But-
pretty influential man. And yeah, just a shame that he's died of complications essentially, and not, passing away of natural causes. So yeah, that's a shame. We lost someone who was very influential in the games industry. We've also got some more Game of the Year awards in from other places, and Hades has won, I think, both Kotaku and IGN. So Hades doing
sounds
well.
Nice.
That sounds about right.
But yeah, there's a good spread from different companies of games this year, because I think there were a lot of contenders for Game of the Year that are very deserving. So it's nice to see that different companies are having different choices. Because I think it's always disappointing when people see like one game just gets every single Game of the Year award, and you're like, man, I know Red Dead 2 is great, but I would have loved to see some other games on there. So yeah, it's good to see, especially indie games. Like I love seeing Hades up there because it's recognition for a game that likely would not have been noticed otherwise. So I'm glad to see that.
110% deserving, as I've probably gushed on that game.
Yeah.
For a long time, ever since I started playing it. So, yeah.
I'm still banking on 2021 or 2022, the Ryan and Wyatt Last of Us 2 cut.
Yep. All right, so we do have sales numbers from Cyberpunk now. 13 million copies after refunds.
Oh my god.
Now, what's astounding to me about this is apparently that was disappointing sales numbers.
Yeah, they were expecting more somehow.
This is awful to me because this is how Deus Ex died. They expected it to sell an amount of numbers that just doesn't happen. Like
with any game.
No game, unless you're maybe Call of Duty, occasionally manages to pull it, but like no game is selling 25 million copies in the first week. Like that doesn't happen. But for some reason, Square Enix, when Deus Ex Mankind Divided happened, were like, yeah, this was disappointing sales numbers despite selling an insane amount. And this is also like CD Projekt. I'm sitting here wondering, how is this a disappointing sales number, especially in light of the issues with the game? Like 13
People
million.
Can't manage their expectations.
And
Not
just,
a single
just
person on Earth can.
Just to give you an idea of how crazy refunds for the PS4 version have been, I was recently on PlayStation's customer support page, and for various reasons, and there's literally on almost every single page that I was there was a link that says, "Are you trying to refund Cyberpunk 2077? Click here."
Yeah, they're making it very clear. Which is a shame because I think underneath the dumpster fire that is the console ports, the game itself is very fun.
Very, very good. Yeah.
But yeah, I am hopeful now that I think Cyberpunk's launch might actually lead to us getting another Deus Ex inadvertently, because I have a feeling a lot of people that wanted that Cyberpunk life immersive sim maybe didn't quite get it from Cyberpunk even after the bugs.
That way.
Because
8 years of hype, and the most we can get out of is maybe we'll get a Deus Ex sequel.
Oh,
because I mean, Deus Ex has a lot of things. Like Cyberpunk doesn't have as detailed of a cyberware system as Deus Ex did, and a lot of that stuff is what makes Cyberpunk. So I would love to see a Deus Ex sequel that is focused on those things and not like the open world and the amount of content, just like a tighter experience, because that's what Mankind Divided and Human Revolution were. It's just very tight experiences that were well designed and had great levels. So focusing more on that in a Cyberpunk setting, I think would be great to see again.
And Adam Jensen Batman voice.
And Adam Jensen Batman voice, of course. But yeah, I think Square Enix might decide to capitalize on that and greenlight the next Deus Ex, especially after Eidos was being used in Avengers and that didn't do well. I think they have an opening now, and they would probably be a little bit dumb to not take it.
Yeah,
if they're smart, they would do something like that.
Yeah, because I definitely don't think Cyberpunk will have lessened anyone's desire for more Cyberpunk.
No, yeah, it's probably made people just want a better experience.
Yeah, I definitely think so.
I am hungry.
Just a more technically proficient experience.
Well, a more like immersive sim experience, because I think a lot of Cyberpunk's audience is people that played Deus Ex, and I think the people that played Deus Ex and went into Cyberpunk expecting Deus Ex were probably like 50% to 75% happy, but it's that little bit. It's the bit that's left that's like, I just want more Deus Ex. I think they probably thought that like people would start to want less of that after playing Cyberpunk, that it would probably be big enough that it would kind of corner that market for a while. But yeah, I don't think that's going to happen with Cyberpunk. I don't think it's going to be a system of like, it's the only Cyberpunk game that can release right now, because I definitely think people want more Cyberpunk in any of its forms.
Good also for all those like indie games that are doing cyberpunk things now too.
Oh yeah, Ghost Runner has been doing pretty well as well. That the parkour based like one hit kill
Yeah.
Very
cyberpunk
different
platformer.
game, but
Super
but
different, but aesthetically pretty close.
yes.
So yeah, that is definitely something that exists. And hey, Mankind Divided still exists. So does Human Revolution. Both great games. And I want to see more of those. So please, Eidos, give us more Deus Ex.
That's all this podcast. That's all this episode was really for.
Yeah, this episode is really just thinly veiled wanting Deus Ex to come back.
This is
Thinly
now a
veiled.
Deus Ex podcast.
No, it's actually a Star Wars podcast. Don't worry.
And a Halo podcast.
Yeah, and Halo, and Mass
Minecraft
Effect.
for the views.
Minecraft for the views.
Of course, yeah.
We need more money.
Just need a little more money.
Make sure to like and subscribe.
Yeah. Okay, so some other stuff that has happened this week. The 1.5 update for Stardew Valley. This is a game that keeps getting updates years after launch from the one-man development team. He just keeps putting out updates because the game has made him so much money that I don't think he needs to care about
Yeah.
not being able to afford anything. So he's just working on it and releasing free updates pretty consistently. And the 1.5 update is crazy big. It has like a new area. There's whole new stuff you can do. I looked through the patch list and it's insane that this is a free update. Like this is the kind of thing I would expect from like if you re-release the game 3 years later as like a finale edition or something. That's what I would expect. Like this seems like essentially the Monster Hunter, how it does the Monster Hunter base one, and then occasionally a year later they'll come out with like the ultimate version, or Dynasty Warriors does that. It's like that style of update it's big enough to warrant that.
Damn.
Just pretty cool. Epic's still giving away some free games. You have from when this podcast comes out like a day, I think, to get in on the free Epic games while they're happening. So yeah, you'll have 1 day left. So if you want some free games from the Epic Game Store, go get free games from the Epic Game Store. I think the next one's probably Torchlight 2, if the rumors are right, and that's a very good game. So yeah, some neat stuff. All right, so that's most of our news. We did the news. There's not a lot from this week because it's kind of that Christmas week, so companies aren't really doing, aside from one thing. I do hate to bring us in a downer, but Cyberpunk now has a bunch of lawsuits.
4.
Yep.
Happening. So that's happening.
Good vibes gone.
I mean, so for people that sounds worrying to, the thing to keep in mind is these law firms that are doing these class action suits are firms that kind of do class action suits all the time, and very rarely do they turn out well. Like these suits are filed so that there's the off chance they get something from it, essentially. But these class action suits, yeah, it's basically a company that doesn't actually have any involvement in this, just generating outrage.
To No Man's Sky when it first came out, and
yeah,
I had a result which I feel like will be pretty similar to what we're seeing.
It just kind of fades away after a while. Like,
yeah,
the odds are that we get an actual resolution for this. The same thing as like the Epic and Apple thing. It's just like sometimes they just don't pan out super well. So yeah, I doubt we're gonna see a settlement or anything happening from this. Mostly because I think it's demonstrably very hard for any law firm to prove that anything is like malicious about this. So I would be very surprised if this happened, or if any of these lawsuits actually went through and made it to court.
Yeah.
It's a possibility, but it's unlikely. And I think Cyberpunk is not the most broken game to have ever released. Like some people are acting like it is. There have been other games that are about as broken that have come out before.
I really don't think it's that bad.
I mean, on PC, it's perfectly playable.
Consoles,
but console version is.
I mean, I've had like weird things where I was like driving my motorcycle, and then my person would just like glitch and be naked and start T-posing on the motorcycle while I'm riding.
I mean, that's pretty bad.
That is not good.
It's pretty funny though, not gonna lie.
But yeah, the crashing on base versions of consoles is pretty much the big thing.
And what usually happens with games that release as bad as this too, the other thing is like a lot of the times there are games that aren't as good as Cyberpunk is without the bugs. bugs, right? Like if
Like
Fallout
Fallout
76
76.
didn't, yeah, if Fallout 76 did not have the bugs that it had, it doesn't matter. It's still a bad game.
Yeah, it's still very
Ryan
boring.
and I can confirm it is a.
I don't even feel
it's-
comfortable calling it a bad game because I just don't remember it. It's like
No, but boring is a kind of bad though.
I don't know. I think there's a
Like,
difference
I would
between
almost
like
prefer a game that's so bad that I remember something about it, that it sticks out in my brain in some way, whereas something that's so boring that I just feel like there was nothing of value.
exactly, but I do
Take it.
think 76 definitely has, if you're into the crafting loop that they have, I think you will like the game. But I think for you and I, we were certainly not into that. Because like from the fact that the community was super nice and everything, it's clear that there are people that enjoy that game and have a lot of
Well,
fun
they're
with
nice
it.
just because they want more people playing it, not because they think it's good. No, I'm just kidding.
I mean, yeah, they have to be
Jeez.
playing it because they want more people to play, which means they like the game to some level. So I certainly think it's not the absolute trash fire that people make Fallout 76 out to be sometimes, but it is still I think the
think
most
it
boring
is.
game I've ever played.
I felt that way personally, but that's just me.
The fact that I played it for an hour, 2 hours, and remembered nothing is astounding to me. I just can't. And he
It's
remembered
kind
nothing
of
immediately
incredible,
afterwards. It
in a
was
way.
phenomenal.
And then we
Uh,
played like one round of Halo, and it felt like I woke up.
Yeah.
Congratulations, you are extremely unremarkable.
I had that day I had like a Master Chief sounding alarm, and I was like, oh, it was just an alarm playing Halo music at me. It was
Chief!
wonderful.
I
Wake
need
up.
you.
Oh, and
Whoa
I
there,
love.
cowboy.
Wake up, Spartan.
I do love that we had to get a
It's time to
confirmation
put
from
to do.
343 that Halo Infinite was not canceled on base consoles because of the Cyberpunk issues.
That's hilarious.
I love that people assumed that they would just cancel the Xbox One versions of Halo Infinite for some reason. Like,
I guess people just have so little faith that they would be able to deliver on the original product that they were just like, I wouldn't be mad. Are you going to?
Yeah.
yeah, it's a really odd seeing that as a headline. It's just like, yeah, Infinite Xbox One version not canceled. That's a headline article, of course. And
Because that's all they can tell us about the game.
it's just,
That's all they've got. That's all they've got.
I
Did they
mean,
decide that back in January?
There it is. We had to get it in there.
all right. So we're running in on our time now. We've talked about most of the 2020 year in review. We've got some fun stuff planned for the next 2 weeks, I think. So I get to tell some of you just live while we're doing this. The next week is planned to be a Games Critics Fantasy League setup. So what that'll be is kind of be talking about it. We'll be going over it. We'll be having some fun doing that. And what that is basically it's fantasy football but for games critics and game review scores. So you basically just like draft a team of video games and you want to get the highest score possible. That's basically it. That's what it is. It'll be fun. And then the week, sometime in January, not sure if it's that week after, it might be a little bit later, so we have enough time to like fully come up with a format. But we will be talking about our personal like games of the years and stuff like that. That will be a discussion. It's just we're gonna have an actual format for that, so to prevent absolute chaos and
Good.
dumpster fires, because that's what happens when anyone argues about video games. So,
As you can tell from every previous episode of this podcast.
oh yeah, of course. So yeah, we likely won't be having like a 001 radio game of the year. It'll probably be our individual games of the years to not create we basically we don't have the time to do like 12 hours of deliberation to decide.
Look, Brett and I can only argue with each other so much.
We can only
Yeah.
agree with each other so much.
We can
Although
agree with each other
to
even
be
less.
honest, we might have a double radio games of the game of the year if we just said Hades. Like,
Would anyone in this entire cast complain if it was Hades?
I wouldn't complain.
No.
I just haven't played it, so I wouldn't be
Yeah.
able to.
I mean, that's always the issue with the game of the year discussion.
Yeah,
So yeah, that
yeah.
will be happening. But we'll have our own format for that and our own rules, so we're not just talking about it for a while. And then yeah, we'll have an actual list of that stuff once that happens. Yeah, we got some fun stuff planned. That's basically everything. We did it. We made it through the end of the
Dear
year.
God.
hopefully 2021 a little bit better.
And
I mean,
hopefully nothing-
the bar is so low.
Knock on wood.
The bar is on the floor right now.
The
Hopefully
bar
nothing
is at
worse
the
will
Earth's
happen
core.
in the next 2 days.
Yeah, I
Knock
gotta
on
end
wood.
Don't bait
2020
it,
on a
Brett.
high
Don't
note.
bait it, please.
Look,
Please
3
don't
days
bait
of
it.
nothing happening in 2020 is incredible.
Please.
We're already off to a great end of the year if nothing happens for the next 2 days. So yeah, that's it. That's the end of the show. We have shoutouts. Who wants to do their shout out first?
I'm gonna save mine until last.
I
Ryan
yeah.
already knows which one mine is.
I'll go now because it's a downer. I don't want to end on
All right.
on a bad note. My shout out is to Mr. Brody Lee, who was a wrestler for All Elite Wrestling and died a few days ago from complications with lung cancer that went like completely unannounced and until he died, and it is very sad to hear all the rest of the cast members talk about how good of a guy he was outside the ring. And yeah, so my shout out goes to him. I told you I didn't want to end on that.
Yeah, that was
We all were just
hitting
like,
us with some heavy
who
news
who wants
immediately.
to follow?
Hey, I'll hit it up
Sad.
with a. I just saw it sitting in my Steam library and saw it, Earth Defense Force 4.1 just sitting there. I'm like, man, Earth Defense Force, that's a good series. So I'm
you
going to
hate
shout out to
bugs-
the Earth Defense Force series of video games. It's basically Dynasty Warriors with guns. I love it. All right. Tessa or Alex?
Okay. Yeah. Shout out to Tasha's Cauldron of everything. My players are in trouble.
Ooh.
Oh my god.
And to water, hydrate or dihydrate.
All right. Tess, you got.
Shout out to Uber Eats for having priority delivery so I can deliver food to my house before my parents come home so they don't yell at me for ordering food.
Nice.
Eat it and then hide the evidence, which I did earlier to get Wendy's.
All right, Wyatt. You
All
get your
right,
final
mine-
shout out.
I do. Mine requires a bit of a explanation here. So I was on my PlayStation 5 and I noticed that one of the PlayStation Plus monthly games was Rocket Arena. So I was like, oh, okay, let's try this out. So I played a couple rounds of it. One thing that's very obnoxious about it is they pester you as soon as the game starts for you to upgrade to like the most awesomest premium edition or whatever for an extra like $30 or whatever.
Jeez.
And they make it literally so like if you hit the X button, you pay for it. They're
Oh.
not confirming your purchase or anything. You just pay for it. So
Oh,
you have
no.
to be very specific
That's
to hit the circle button. One day,
bum,
I-
bum,
I,
ba-da-dun-dun-dun-dun-dun-dun-dun-dun.
yeah, pretty much. One day I was gonna play the game for a bit, and I dropped my controller.
No.
And in my effort to try and grab it, I hit the X button and paid for the
You
$30 or
fool.
$40 awesomest, coolest, most premium special edition.
Well, is it?
The awesomest, coolest, most special edition?
You get like a skin,
Oh.
a couple skins, some
that sounds
premium
great.
currency.
Are you saying this isn't incredible, Wyatt?
Yeah, well, you sound disappointed, upset even. That's
I'm saying,
McFreakin' lose it.
yeah.
And
Pretty
on
much.
that note, today's show is ending. Have a good New Year, everyone.
Right.
Stay inside. Don't
Don't
go
buy-
outside without a
Don't buy
mask.
the Rocket Arena coolest, most premium, awesomest edition.
You heard it here first, folks.
I'm already